to another enlightening episode of Future Jobs, where we delve into the evolving landscape of work and individuals shaping its future. I'm your host, Fahad Jobswala, and today we are joined by a remarkable guest whose insights bridge the gap between personal growth and professional success. Bess McCarthy is a seasoned holistic health practitioner, inner child coach, and the creator of the transformative Real Conversations method. With over 3 decades of experience, Bess has empowered countless individuals to overcome internal barriers, enhance their careers, and lead fulfilling lives. Her unique approach integrates body mind, psychology, spiritual awareness, and practical coaching techniques, making her a sought after mentor for coaches, therapists, and network marketers alike. In this episode, we'll explore how personal development is integral to thriving in the future workplace and the importance of emotional intelligence and strategies to navigate the ever changing professional landscape. Bats, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Hey, thank you, Fahad. I'm happy to be here, and welcome to all the people watching.
Thank you so much, Bats, for joining and turning on today. It's an honor for me to record this podcast with you. So, what is your story?
Well, as Fahad said, I love inner child work, and I've been doing it for over 30 years. It started when my son was born, um, when I was 30 years old, and well, what happened was I grew up on a farm in Kansas. I fell in love with San Diego. I moved to San Diego because I like the weather here, and got married, had a baby age 30. And what happened was when I had this beautiful, beautiful baby boy and just fell in love with him, um, what happened was I found myself crying. Like he would wake up at night and nurse and go to sleep, and I would stay up crying. And I thought, what is this about? I didn't know why I felt like this deep heartbreak. So what happened was that my child was triggering my own um, loneliness from when I was a baby, but I didn't know that, at that time. But psychologically, when your child goes through their stages, it can bring up issues that you haven't healed from those stages when you were little too. So it was a gift that, that he did that for me because I was able to heal it. So what happened though at these nights, I didn't know what was happening. I just knew that I was like sobbing and sobbing and crying out in the living room after I nursed my son and go back to sleep in the bedroom. I come out in the living room and I was crying. And my husband got up and he goes, he'd say, well, what's wrong? And I go, I don't know. And he'd hold me and I'd cry. And then after a while he goes, I got to get up to work, go to work in the morning. So he went back to bed. And then I really felt alone. And I didn't know what. So this went on for a number of nights. This deep heartbreak and loneliness. I felt like heartbreaking loneliness. And one night, I just think it got so bad and so painful that something in me must have just shifted into letting go and into surrender. And what happened was I had this image of a big, bosomy grandma. She came and she held me like an angel, sort of a vision of an angel. She came and she held me and she rocked me until I felt better after it took a long time. And it was a healing. And I realized that, wow, I can meet my needs. That's my inner child work was crying for something, you know? And later I asked my mom and I said, did you, she had 4 babies, did you leave your babies to cry alone in the crib? And she goes, oh, yes, in America, that's what we were taught to do 70 years ago when the industrial age was happening and productivity was important, that if your baby was not wet or hungry, you leave them to cry alone in another room while you do your work. And so that's what they did. That's what mothers at that time thought that they should do. And some cultures would say, oh, that's it's just horrible, but that's what the doctors and people advised, and the experts advised the mothers to do at that time. So I had this deep, heartbreaking loneliness for my mommy. I wanted my mommy, and it wasn't till I was 30 that um, sorry for the dogs barking. I tried to remedy that, but they'll stop in a moment. Um, so I tried, um, I didn't know how to help it, but after that vision was given to me, I understood that that was my inner child crying for a need that it had way back then, the need for its mommy, the need for comfort and connection. And the dog is saying, yeah, that's true, that's true. The dog is saying, yes, children need this connection. And that was an inner child need I had waiting within myself, and waited till I was big to be able to heal it. See, but it can interfere with our lives in the meantime. Like that loneliness can lead us to looking for love in the wrong places, or getting with the wrong partner, or finding relationships that keep abandoning us, like I was abandoned, so I keep replaying that. So it was a great gift to be able to heal it. And then I said, aha, all I have to do is find out what I'm needing, what my inner child is needing, and I can meet that need. I can meet that need by visualizing it, by asking for a hug, or other ways. And I hope the dog is just verifying this and saying, "Pay attention and listen. This is
It's just completely fine, not a problem at all. It usually happens.
what's that again?"
I said it's just completely fine. You know,
Oh, okay, good. Maybe you don't even hear it. Maybe your filter is cutting out the dog barking. But this is an important message for people, and it was for me, and it began my inner child work as an inner child therapist. I found that John Bradshaw was doing this work too around this time. So I got a lot from his teachings, which you can go and look up John Bradshaw and find out a lot of the work that he did about inner child. We all have needs, right? We all we all need things physically, like shelter and food, and exercise and water, and we need things emotionally, like belonging and connection, and validation and support and safety and security as children. We need things mentally. We need to be able to contribute to life. We need to be able to learn new things, and understand things with our mind. And then we need things spiritually to be able to have a purpose in life, to be able to have a way to contribute to society and people around us, and our loved ones. So when all those needs are met, we're good, we're happy. But when the need is not met, we're mad, or scared, or lonely, sad, mad, scared. And when we do feel these things, that's a clue that we need something, that there's some need that I listed that we're not getting met. And so, like, if you ever feel bad, that's like a red light on your dashboard on your car. You're driving your car and a red light comes on and says, oh, you need gas. Oh, you need oil. And so if you're driving through your life and a bad emotion comes up, that's like the red light saying you need something. You need something. Is it something physical, emotional, mental, spiritual? And a lot of people wonder what that is. So I put together this chart that you can get if you go to my website, Bess McCarthy, my name, BessMcCarty.com. And you can go there and you can get this chart that has a list of all the feelings that can lead you to the needs. So you can figure out what need is not being met, and then how to meet that need. And that's what I help people do. And there's a complimentary coaching session there too. That's inner child work in a nutshell.
that's a really wonderful story. And when we dedicate the large amount of time from our life, to whatever, to any field, it's a really huge number. 3 decades, 30 years. You have 30 years of experience in this inner child sector, and you've gained a lot of experiences. No doubt. As I mentioned before, regarding this podcast when we were having a chit chat, I had one interview on inner child with Stephanie Moeller. So I would try to cover up all those points which I missed in the previous episode of that podcast too. And first of all, the first thing comes in every person, you know, who is new to this thing, who doesn't know that what inner child is. So, what is inner child? Could you explain that when you are talking about inner child? So, what do you actually mean by that?
That's a good question. Okay. So I think that inner child is my emotions, my heart. And I think my inner child sits right here in my heart or somewhere in my tummy. And because the heart is about feelings and needs, the head is about the intellect and mind. So in body mind psychology, which I'm a body mind therapist, they say there's three centers in the body. One is the head, and we're familiar with that, right? We can rationalize things, figure things, problems out logically. Then is the heart. That's where we feel our emotions, where we feel things with the heart. And it's often concerned with love more than the head is. And then we have our tummy. You've heard of your gut level feelings, your instincts, your intuition is in your tummy. I have a gut feeling about this. That's in your tummy, and that is the area that tells you what you need. Your intuition, your gut level feelings tell you what you need. So I'd say the inner child is in our heart and in our belly. It's only later on in life at age 7 that the intellect is developed, but a child knows what they need and what they feel. And a lot of times we forget that. We cut that off. And they say, okay, Western man in America anyway, lives from head up. The Chinese say Western man lives from his head up. He cuts off his heart and his belly, the messages from his belly. And that's where I call the inner child lives, in our heart and in our belly. So it's reconnecting with our feelings and our needs to make our life work. If our life doesn't work, fighting in the marriage or distancing from kids or problems at work or ill health, look to your feelings and your needs. See what they need. One lady did inner child work with me, and she said all the illnesses I had all my life disappeared when I started doing inner child work because they were caused from stress and from unmet needs showing themselves in the body. The body often speaks about what we're really needing. So do our dreams, so do our emotions. That's how you can trace back to the needs. Look at your dreams and your body health messages, and your emotions will help you to trace back and find back what is the need that's not being met. Like for me, it was loneliness and self-soothing that I learned to do for myself um, once that grandmother showed me how.
Wonderful. Exactly. Exactly. Totally agreed with you, Bess. So, Bess, we're just curious that what initially inspired and led you to dedicate 30 years and 3 decades from your life to this inner child field. Could you tell us about that?
I mean, tell about how I got into doing this work.
How you got into doing this and initially ended up by um, dedicating 3 decades of your life from to this.
Oh, what have the last 30 years of my life been like?
Exactly.
Okay, it's been wonderful. Oh, goodness, goodness, goodness. Um, the most wonderful years because I learned to get free of the blocks that were holding me back. Anytime I had a fear, I would go do inner child work on it and say, well, what am I really needing here? If I have a fear about speaking to people or being a teacher, I was a teacher for 15 years at Body Mind College. That's where I went to take my training. So after this happened, as with my son as a baby and the grandmother healing that came, um, I went into therapy for my marriage, which had problems. And so the therapy, and then I heard about a school called Body Mind College in San Diego that did healing for people and trained people to do that. I thought, oh, I need to do that. So I went for 2 years and we did clearings, clearing out the blocks that were there physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And that was the beginning of my healing. I said, okay, I need to bring inner child work to this school. And I became a head teacher at Body Mind College for 15 years. And we trained holistic health practitioners who were really like coaches that we call them today. And my favorite part of that was that I created the inner child classes within that school to help bring out these feelings and needs. And so I help people um, with I call it real conversations with our inner child when we say, what am I feeling? What am I needing? And we can do this for ourselves any time of the day. At least once a day, I recommend people ask themselves that. But especially when you're having a problem. Like I'm working with a little girl right now. I'm coaching a little girl who um, um, is angry sometimes and yells. And so we're looking to see, well, what are you angry about? What are you needing? So the feeling is anger, and then what are you needing under that? She might be needing more connection from her parents, more time and good quality attention from her parents. She might be needing more exercise. She needs to, get it out in a healthy, get her energy out in a healthy way. Might be needing to know that her stepdad loves her, and that he's not just annoyed with her, but that he does love her too. So we look and see what's under the anger. If we say, it's not fair, my parents are not fair, we might take a look and see, well, what do we need from them instead? Do we need them to ask what we think about something before they make a rule? Are we wanting to be considered and respected along with everyone else in the family? What do we want? Do we need respect? Do we need support? Do we need validation? Do we need some listening, someone to share how our day went, the good parts and the bad parts? Do we need help with solving a problem in our work or at school? What is it that we need? Do you know that belonging is a valid need? Just to belong to a family and feel like you're a contributing part of the family? Or validation that your ideas matter rather than have your parents or your boss just brush them off. Validation that your ideas do matter. So what are we needing? What are we needing? Oh, you asked about the last 30 years. So I've been helping people over the last 30 years on all sorts of levels with this, hundreds and hundreds of people. I've helped as students and clients to have a happier life. And one lady who went through this work with me, she came out of it. She was a coach who was kind of scared to work with people, thinking she might run into something she couldn't handle. But afterwards, she came out full of confidence in herself and very happy. Like she was a happy young child, like my granddaughter is, who's 5 years old. She's full of this joy of life, and she's so glad she went through the process of healing her inner child. And this is what people say, and it's all over my website. This method, two stories I have. This method, one man was referred by his chiropractor to me because he said, this patient keeps coming every year with a car accident. Every year, somebody hits him. It's never his fault. But then we get him healed and back on his feet again, then he has another car accident. He said, I think it's something inside, you know, his mindset, his emotions are drawing this experience to him. So we took a look and we found that his father always put him down as a child. And he said, you'll never succeed. You'll never be anything. You can't do this or that. So his father always knocked him down. And funny thing is that we seem to have a subconscious loyalty to our parents, the child does, because it still is trying to get mom and dad's love. So even after he grew up, that prophecy kept coming true, and he kept making sure that prophecy was true, that he would not be able to be successful. When we uncovered that, he never had another car accident again. He said, this real conversations process I mentioned of getting to feelings and needs, he said, I've gotten farther in one session with you than I have in 3 years of weekly psychotherapy. See how powerful this is? Be in touch with your feelings and needs. And another man had a terrific...
So very powerful. Exactly.
What's it again?
I said it's so very powerful. You know the way you
Mhm.
explained that, and that man didn't had the car accident after that.
So you can see how our unmet needs can really sabotage our life, can't they? Because everybody's had trauma in their childhood, and everybody has residues of that that filter into their adult life. Now, if you're aware and you do my process, which you can get for free on the website, and you go into the feelings and needs, you can maybe do this yourself, or you might need help from someone or a counselor, someone like me who knows this process. I don't know if many people know it, but it is the most direct one to changing the problems in your life that can unconsciously sabotage and kind of wreck your life. So we shine the light on them. Don't be afraid to shine the light on them and look at them. One man had a fear of heights ever since he was a baby, and his father held him out over a window, like 5-story window, while his mother screamed. And the fear of heights didn't bother him till he got into adulthood, and he could not go in downtown of a city where he worked because he could not go in the high-rise buildings, and could not ride up in elevators. So he came for therapy, and in 3 sessions, his fear of heights was gone that he'd had his entire adult life. Now he could do business downtown, ride up in an elevator, or drive in the mountains. And he said the top experts at UCSD in San Diego could not help him, but this did. So other ways it can show up in your life, if you are fearful of authority figures or your boss, or you feel rebellious against them, could be something from childhood to take a look at and clear out and see, what am I needing here? I need self-validation so I won't be rebelling, or I need self-validation so I won't be scared of the boss, or scared like I used to be, really, really scared.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, how has your background in body mind psychology influenced your approach to personal and professional development?
How has body mind psychology benefited me as a person and a coach?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's really cool because all the parts of our body have a psychological correlation. So you can listen to your body and look at it like it's a dream symbol. Well, it's a waking dream symbol. So, like if you have, let's see, an example. One man had a pain in his neck, and I also did massage and everything. He came and he had a pain in his neck, and he could not look very far to the right or left. But in his life, he was prejudiced. He could not see the whole 360-degree viewpoint of anything. He could only see certain parts of it. So it showed up in his neck, and his neck kept him from physically being able to see much more than what was straight ahead of him. Isn't that interesting? And one lady came with a
Exactly.
and I had a sore shoulder one time for weeks. And the shoulder is like the burdens that we carry in life, and the right side is about work, and the left side is about our needs. Right, your right side of your body is about your father role model, and the left side is about your mother role model. So the right side is masculine, about work. So I had a shoulder pain in my right shoulder for weeks. And I thought, I never took time to see what am I feeling and needing, right? Until I had a little break one day, and I said, okay, shoulder, what do you want to tell me? What am I needing? What are you feeling and needing, shoulder? And it said, I'm mad because you're working too much and you need to give me a break. So I said, okay, shoulder, I will arrange for help, and I will be able to delegate some of the work, and you don't have to do it all. And immediately the pain went away in minutes after being there for weeks. So our body speaks what it needs, and if we listen, it can be a messenger like that red light on the dashboard and say, hey, you need gas, you need oil, you need a break, you need help, you need support.
That's really wonderful. According to what I observed, throughout this conversation, and is still observing, that the inner child process is really powerful, and it can be more powerful than we can ever imagine. And another thing I wanted to add that as you just mentioned about the last story about the man who are having accident, every year. We have to think before saying anything to another person, that how it can affect their brain, how it can affect maybe the rest of the life. We just speak the sentences, we just and we move away. We think further about our life and about our things, but the man who actually was being bullied by us, by our sentences, maybe their rest of the life is going to be affected by what we just said. So it's not just about the parents, it's not just about their kids, it's about a whole universe, whole planet, everyone.
Oh, that is such a good point. I'm so happy that you tuned in on that and want to open it up a little bit more in a few more words. Um, what we tell others and what we tell ourselves always has an effect. It creates our thoughts and our words create something. Is it going to be positive and building them up and supporting them and pointing them toward the positive things in life, or is it going to point them toward the negative things? Like, you're no good. What's wrong with you? You'll never be able to succeed, or you're dumb, or you're stupid, or you're ugly. Any of that can crush an adult, let alone crush a child who believes you, and suddenly they act that out. They take that in and they make it come true because they might be telling themselves that over and over. So what if that father would have said to the child again, and see how this feels in your body when I say this? Like my mother told me, she said, you can do anything you put your sights on. You're smart. You always land on your feet. I don't worry about you. You know how to take care of yourself. She actually told me all this. You can do anything you decide to do. And I believed her. And I have. I haven't settled for less. I haven't thought that I was limited. You know, why not? I can do anything, be anything I want to be, and do anything I want to do. I'll find a way, and I always have. And believe it or not, Fahad, even our thoughts. Have you ever been in a room and somebody looked at you, and maybe you didn't even know them, but maybe all of a sudden you felt kind of bad about yourself and you didn't know why. Maybe they were thinking negative thoughts about you or judging you. And it has an effect. And so do our thoughts about other people. That's on a subtle level, but but it can be powerful, um, just about as powerful as words can be. So what we think and what we say definitely has an effect. Let us sow seeds of positivity and edification and support and confidence in oneself, because that's just as true as the negative if we choose that. And a camera, you take a camera on your phone or whatever, you point it at something, click it, it's going to give you the picture of what it took. You get focus on a negative picture, it'll make that for you. Focus on a positive picture, it'll make that one for you. So it's our choice, right, to turn the channels, what we want to look at, listen to, say, think. And if somebody says something negative to you, then what can you do?
Exactly, exactly. Totally agreed with you, Bess. And what we're actually talking about, we're talking about the inner child, and the spoken words really have an effect. We don't believe that. We even don't. Okay, were you saying something?
Oh, I was going to say what we do. So much what you just said. And what we do, if somebody says something negative to you, like they go, "Oh, Fahad, you're so stupid." What we can do is we don't need to fight back and say, "No, I'm not," or "Yes, I am." We don't. What we can do is when we have a moment to ourselves, we can say, "How am I feeling? I feel fine. That didn't affect me at all." Or I feel I feel stupid. I feel ashamed. I feel embarrassed. I feel guilty. And then we can say, "Well, what are we needing? What what am I feeling and what am I needing?" I'm needing self-validation. I'm needing to remember all the times when I have felt competent and confident, when I did a good job, when I got good grades in school, when I got a good review from the boss. I know I'm not stupid, but even if I am, I have other good qualities and that maybe that person doesn't have. So in
Exactly.
other words, we validate ourselves. That's what I meant by anytime you feel bad, ask yourself, that's the go-to. What am I feeling? What am I needing? Thank you for letting me jump in there.
It's it's absolutely because you have 3 decades of experience, and this is our job to squeeze that 3 decades of experience. It can be possible for 30 to 40 minutes conversation. It can takes a lot because you have really a wonderful wisdom. Uh, you know along your journey. So exactly, spoken words really matters, and we have to think thousands of times when we are talking to someone, especially when any kind of negative thought comes into our mind. We have to think that if we transfer that thought, you know, just to say a thought or whatever a sentence to another person, how it is going to make an impact or how it is going to affect that person. It is all about. So thank you so much, Bess McCarthy, for giving me your precious and valuable time for this amazing and wonderful conversation we just had on the inner child. And again, it can be possible to cover up all these things in 30 to 40 minutes conversation, but maybe we can make another second part if our audience would like.
Absolutely. Um, I do have another gift for people who happen to be entrepreneurs. Would you like me to go into that for a moment?
Sure, Bess. Sure.
Well, um, I found that I love doing inner child work, and I especially love coaching coaches to do this work too, and and other practitioners so that they can bring that to their patients and clients too. And when I work with these people, I find that their number one concern is getting clients. So I do inner child work with them to help them get their clients. And I came up with 30 mindset keys to help people to get clients and customers. So this is another free gift that I have for coaches and practitioners and any entrepreneurs. It works. If you want to build your business and use these inner child methods and other mindset methods, I have these 30 keys that helped me last year to go from last year I had a 5-month dry spell with no new clients, even though I've been doing this for 30 years. And I thought, what is happening? What is happening here? So I did my spiritual work on it, and I asked inwardly, what am I feeling and what am I needing? And these 30 keys came, 30 principles, 30 techniques. I wrote them down and I put them in a product. But I took the first 5 keys to make free for everyone who wants to use them. And those 5 keys include an inner invitation that once, um, well, when I used these 30 keys, it catapulted me immediately into an $11,000 breakthrough month. 5 months with no clients into $11,000. And it continues going as I continue to use them. And I've shared them with my clients too, and every one of them has had a great increase in their client, in their practice using the keys. So I made available the first 5 of these keys for free, and you can get those at my name, bessmccarty.com. That's my website, bessmccarty.com, bessmccarty.com, /5 clients. And that's the numeral 5 clients, clients. There you can get the first 5 that include an inner invitation that you send inwardly to your future clients. I used this one time years ago, and before I could even do any marketing, my schedule, my phone was ringing off the hook. I got as much business as I could handle immediately. And another person used that inner invitation the other day, and within minutes, a new client called. She goes, "Oh, I guess this really works." And this has been repeated often with the clients who've used these. So they work. Would love to get them in your hands and see how they can help you too. I'd love to hear your story.
Wonderful mess. Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that thing with us. I would strongly recommend you. So thank you so much again, listeners and viewers, for watching and listening to this podcast. It was such a wonderful session with Bess McCarthy. So stay tuned for another amazing, wonderful episode of the Future Jobs podcast show. Um, Wishing you the best and good luck. And I just wanted to leave you with the legacy that the spoken words always matter. You know, your sentences, your words always matter. And in order to make this world a better place, you will have to consider this. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.